More now on Tropical Storm Irene, which has battered the east coast of the United States. Our North America correspondent Craig McMurtry joins us now from Washington. Craig, good morning. Well, the force of the storm wasn't as fierce as expected, but nonetheless it did cause a lot of damage and loss of life. Which areas were particularly badly affected?
Well, good morning, Tam. Yes, New York appears to have dodged a bullet, as the Mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, said. There was a lot of focus on New York because, of course, it is America's most populous city. But it looks like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, particularly around Philadelphia, that's been badly hit in New Jersey. The governor there is saying potentially billions of dollars of damage, most of it caused by downed trees that have hit power lines, and some power lines or power poles being snapped in high winds. Now, he is saying it will take weeks to clear all the roads and restore power. He's saying there are trees across hundreds of roads. So that's a serious situation. Also, with the tropical storm now moving into New England, there are reports of widespread flooding in Rhode Island, parts of Connecticut, and they're saying with 10, 20, sometimes reports of 30 centimetres of rain. The other concern is flood warnings now being issued for swollen river systems, which again, state government officials in those areas are saying that sort of a threat will hang around for days. And then to the south in North Carolina, Virginia Beach, they're now assessing the damage of mini tornadoes that was sparked by Hurricane Irene that really tore into some beach houses there and caused significant devastation. So whilst Irene did not deliver the big punch many had feared and seems to have spared New York, it still really left its mark up and down America's eastern seaboard.
Of course, with power poles breaking and trees into power lines, I'm sure that there would be many millions of people who are without power at the moment. How many people have been affected in the aftermath of the storm?
Well, you're right, there are millions. I mean, you only have to look at the local reports. On Long Island, for example, they are saying that they have 30 shelters there where people are being fed and spent the night, and they're packed. Thousands of people are there. You hear stories like that all around the country, places where campgrounds have been evacuated and people who decided to ignore evacuation orders and stayed in their homes in places, the upper reaches of the Hudson River, for example, and there was flooding and they weren't able to get out and had to be rescued by emergency crews and brought out by boat, and that they are quite shaken up. There are also reports of some issues with a dam in upstate New York that is apparently leaking, and there are reports of 2 nuclear reactors being taken offline, though that's routine. It happens automatically when the wind gets above a certain level. The other thing that's happening in the aftermath of Hurricane Irene is a lot of officials are being questioned now about whether they did in fact overreact. For example, in New York, Mayor Michael Bloomberg ordered the first ever mandatory evacuations in New York. Now, officials, including the mayor and the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency here in America, Craig Fugate, they are saying that they really had no choice, that in 25% of cases where a serious storm is predicted, there can be significant loss of life. And certainly after Hurricane Katrina and what it did to New Orleans, publicly elected officials aren't prepared to take any risks in this country. Finally, the director of the National Finally, the director of the National Hurricane Centre has said that forecasters did think that there was a significant chance of Irene actually strengthening or intensifying as it moved up the eastern seaboard, because on some of the projections they had it going back out to sea where it could gather strength again. So that information was being fed to government officials when they were making the decisions to actually order the evacuations and close down the mass transit systems.
OK, Craig, we've run out of time, but thanks for joining us this morning.
OK.